on Instagram as well. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. Firstly, let me start by saying that Sipping Thoughts has completed 3 years of its journey this month. Yeah. And Sipping Thoughts is a platform that was set up keeping in mind the tagline Real Women and Real Thoughts. One of our ways to do that and to encourage a community conversation has been our show Let's Talk, which was launched in May this year. And the idea behind Let's Talk is to pick up topics, that relate to women everywhere, that are, social issues that might make other people uncomfortable, but we want to make everyone comfortable with that. And the topic today that we are picking up is accepting sentiments or hurting them. A look into the ban, the boycott, and trolling culture that is becoming increasingly prevalent in India right now. The recent Tanishq advertisement controversy, brought this to our mind. Where is the line between accepting freedom of speech and expression and upsetting sentiments as well, along with that. And while many targeted the ad as hurting some or the other sentiments, there were many who stood in support of it. And today, that's the idea. We want to bring out different point of views, understand how difficult it is, to accept things, who is right, who is not, when it comes to sentiments. And let's meet our panelists for today. We have Meeta Gutgutia, who holds a degree in fashion designing and comes from a very strong business background. She is the co-founder of Sipping Thoughts as well as Ferns and Petals Group. Her strong entrepreneurial sense of social responsibility led her to co-found Sipping Thoughts. Sukirti Gupta is the co-founder of Sipping Thoughts. She has been in digital business for over 25 years with a track record of creating #1 market positions, launching innovative products and developing new revenue streams within startups and Fortune 500 environments. We have Dr. Shibal Bhartiya. She is a senior consultant at Fortis Memorial Research Institute, Gurgaon. She is also also founder of Vision Unlimited, a bootstrapped social impact organization involved in skill development, disaster relief, food security, and healthcare access for all. And she has recently authored a fiction book called Bena's Summer, which has been published by HarperCollins. And we have, last but not the least, Surabhi Dhingra. She is a doctorate from Delhi University with more than 3 decades of teaching experience. She is also the co-founder and president of POSHCA, an NGO impaneled by Ministry of Women and Child Development for the compliance of Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act. Today, our panelists not just come from different backgrounds, but even, in terms of their personal lives, some of them have had love marriages, arranged marriages, intercaste marriages, as well as interfaith marriages. And we are, really excited to bring this different kind of group today because we want to bring out as many different point of views on this topic as possible. Before we begin, we want to show some of the clips, from the ad that we are going to talk about. And let's just bring into it. I would like to hand it over to Meeta Gutgutia. Ma'am, please take the session forward.
Thank you, Damini. So I introduced Sneha also here. She is a host for our Women at Work series, and she is another one who has an interfaith marriage. So welcome, Sneha, on the show too.
Hello, everyone.
So we all have seen this ad, and the ad after the controversy has become more popular after it's being banned and pulled down. Some of us had been hearing about it for almost a week now, and some we just kind of got into watching it. So looking at the ad, what are our responses on the ad? That what do we feel after seeing it? Was the ban, was the troll required? What was the emotion that it raised in us? So I must take it to Sukirti. And Sukirti, what is your opinion on it?
The first time actually I heard about the ad was in our WhatsApp chat group when people were saying, oh my God, have you seen it? This is what has happened. I loved it. I didn't love it. So I think in a way, the whole controversy has made the ad even more popular because even people that had not watched the ad have now watched it, have seen it. when I first saw the ad, I thought it was beautifully picturized. Of course, you know what, when you're looking at a film, you're looking at a movie, you're looking at something that's actually beautiful in its own entirety. Of course, couple of scenes that why was it at the God Bharai that the girl is so shocked? Because if the family was accepting of cultures, but you know, little things, but yes, the I love the ad overall. And I really did not think that Tanishq needed to take it down. So my viewpoint at that time was also that Tanishq did not need to take it down. They've stirred up a conversation. And once you stir up such a conversation, I think you need to now keep that conversation going.
Dr. Shibal, what do you feel? I know you have a very
Yeah, so aesthetically, it was a beautiful ad. And for somebody who watches a lot of movies, I realize it's for a change, the Muslims were not shown in a lungi and the woman wasn't in a burqa. So it wasn't really a stereotypical Muslim representation. It came as almost a quasi surprise for almost everyone to realize that the mother in law and the daughter in law did not have the same faith. Very beautifully done, very tastefully done. The colors weren't all green and pink, which is how it usually is in the movies. Very fans and petals, Meeta. Credit to you. I think they took the sensibilities from more aesthetically sensible people. It was a very beautifully done ad, and it is also very reminiscent of how Tanishq has positioned itself as a brand. Extremely forward-looking, almost avant-garde. 10 years ago, they'd done this ad which had really taken my heart away, where was this little 4-year-old daughter of this mum who was getting married. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I do.
That really pulled at your heartstrings. So this wasn't that evocative in terms of the response it got from me, because I remember that ad distinctly. You know, this 4-year-old daughter running around while her mother was taking feras. It wasn't that evocative, but there was nothing wrong with the ad. Like, it didn't grate on any sensibilities for me. When I actually got to see it once the trolling had started big time, and I was told, look at what they're now protesting against. And I was like, it takes very little for us to pick up, you know, our cudgels and go to battle. But when it comes to the real issues, we are a very silent people. So I think the first thing that I thought of was that given where we live and what is happening around us, we really have so much to outrage about, and this is what we choose to talk about. And that, I think, was my preliminary response. And the second, of course, was that for a change, Muslims aren't being shown as Pankaj Banane Wala Abdul, you know. So, I mean, they also have decent houses with pretty things. So that felt good. There was no hookah, there was no ugaldan, there was no pandan. So not stereotypical. So that was nice to watch for a change. They got it spot on culturally, I think. Most urban Muslims would relate to how they were being portrayed there. No stereotypes, no caricatures. So that was the good bit. But the rest of it, of course, we will talk about.
Yeah, you have been, you were married to an interfaith. I think so. That
yes.
is description of the whole thing is coming from there, or it's your imagination?
No, which is also, no, but isn't that how Muslims are portrayed in all of the movies that we see? I mean, apart from this one movie where Alia Bhatt very casually wears a hijab and takes it off at will, Muslims haven't been portrayed in cinema or on television. You know, Hina was as regressive, and all of the serials that you watch, and I don't watch TV, thankfully, but at least not for the last 1 decade, so I'm safe. But 10 years ago, they were extremely ridiculous in their representation of Muslims. Muslims didn't talk like me. They didn't dress like me. They didn't have my earrings. They would have these bada chand balas, even on a webinar. So, isn't that how we think of Muslims?
I have a Muslim girl here and a Muslim daughter-in-law here. So after
and you have a Muslim friend across.
Then we will hear from the real house of So Surabhi, what is your? We heard Shibal. Now let's hear you.
Yeah, so same here. I had not seen the ad till the time the entire controversy started off. The first thought always was that trolling, even for this, why do we need somebody to be trolling an ad as simple, as emotional, as about having faith in a marriage and being so warm to a daughter-in-law? That's all I think they wanted to. I had no other takeaway from the ad when I saw it later. So for me, that was it. But what was later became a little worry was that, does a brand like Tanishq also going to be doing this? Then and then you went back to, seeing other ads and seeing that there have been ads in the past. There have been controversies. Some of them have withdrawn. Some of the organizations did not withdraw. But then to take a stand, say that, this is what I stand for. This is, I think that leadership, that respect can only come when you take a stand. And to me, I think I left it there, but then there were so many other conversations that were happening that I think we got lost in too many factors later. But then I think when you picked it up this time for Sipping Thoughts, I said, okay, this is just the right place to talk about it all. And then we have just the perfect people who are already into it to discuss the factors with us today.
So now we come to Sneha. So Sneha, what is your view on this?
So I also saw the ad only after this whole controversy came up. And to be honest, after I saw the ad, I was like, do people have nothing better to do? Because it was a beautiful ad. There were no issues. Personally, I've also had an interfaith marriage, and my husband is Muslim. Uh, and I could relate to it on so many levels, because I think when you get married more on the value system and not really on, oh, who do they pray to, how do they do this, because everything else is very similar. And then it's like a normal household, right? When a new member comes in, you're trying to welcome them, you try to merge traditions, so you're celebrating everything. I am still celebrating Diwali, and I do it with my in-laws, I do it with my husband. We celebrate Eid, and I mean, personally, I feel like, okay, it's one more occasion to celebrate. And I mean, we joke about it also. We say that, okay, now, on Diwali, we get the envelope and money from my side of the parents. And on Eid, we get Eid from my in-laws. So it's good on both sides. So I mean, just on the ad also, I couldn't understand why people had issues with it. And secondly, I personally felt that maybe Tanishq could have taken a stand on it, because it was not so controversial.
We will come to that. I think we all have some opinions on this. And so we have Zainab here. Zainab, welcome here on the show. And I know that I have invited you today to especially to speak on this, because you are again a Muslim girl married to a Hindu family, a very conventional Hindu family.
Yes.
So what has been what do you have to say on this ad on this interfaith marriage?
Yes. So what I'll start with is the ad. So once again, like a lot of people said, how I heard about the ad was once the whole outrage started. And that is when even I was like, okay, let me, quickly Google and see what the whole fuss is all about. And like somebody mentioned in the very beginning, I was so pleasantly surprised to see that it was a nice Muslim household, but there were pretty things. They weren't showing the whole typical green and the whole, how they show. Like, for example, when I was growing up, like, so I'm from Mumbai, and even in a place like Mumbai, like I would sometimes meet people who said, oh, so you don't look Muslim. And I used to keep wondering, so, what is it, that they expect Muslim to look like? So that is one of the things that I was very happy with the ad, that, it wasn't the typical green thing. And again, I agree with a lot of things that even Sneha said, that, it was nice to show that, how they're celebrating each other's festivals, they're happy about everything. And coming back to like the whole outrage on the ad, I think I had read this somewhere that, a lot of people are saying that, how people talk about, you have to boycott Chinese goods, and most of the people doing that are saying it from their Chinese phones. So the outrage is almost like that. They will have some or the other connection through it, but yeah, they want to outrage just because, this has become the new thing to show and talk, and they'll be behind the screen of that phone, which I felt really sad about. So that is something. And again, in our household, like I'll tell you, I am married in a small town in UP. I'm from Mumbai, born and brought up there. And we had so many changes, but still in our house itself, and it's obviously, Mossy would be knowing, so it's a very conventional household still till date. Like when it's Eid, I get an envelope from my in-laws as well as my mom. And when it's Diwali, I'll have my mom send, goodies over here, just a way to celebrate. So it's been very happy, very accepting. And that's not the reality of what is being shown online and, what is being shown around. That's something that I think. So
I can hear the girls getting the what came out is like the envelopes that we are happy.
Yeah.
Which faith and what, but I am getting 2 envelopes.
See, it's all about the envelopes at the end of the day.
Yeah, four envelopes, two festivals.
So interfaith marriages
Yeah.
exist in the country. They've
Yeah, the best
existed for a
of the
very long time, from my parents' generation. And Zainab's much younger than I. So for the last 50 years at least, interfaith marriages have existed in India, and with great comfort, I think. But the new India doesn't want them to exist, is what I thought. It is something that is no longer socially palatable to us as a community, which is, I don't know. I mean, when I got married, it wasn't such a big furor, but apparently, if somebody was to get married now, it just might be a bigger noise than it was 20 years ago.
But civil
Would
I
that
think
be for real, or I think Shibal, maybe that is only for the
Cheetah.
trolls. It's only
Cheetah.
for
think
Nai?
so. I don't think it's only for trolls. I mean, honestly, when you dig deep, and I have now,
Hmm.
once I watched the ad, I
Hmm.
started asking a lot of people, and I'm surprised how many people actually reacted in the same way as the trolls did. Of course, first I
Yeah.
thought trolls are just hyperactive, those 20% that just need to keep writing. But there are really a lot of people, and people that I would say are probably part of my first degree, that would have said, yes, such an ad should not be done. Such an ad should not be shown. Such an ad glamorizes it. And why are we glamorizing? Because they are still stuck in that cultural. And it is not that they don't feel it's okay. It's okay for somebody else, but why glamorize it? And so I feel that we consider ourselves very liberal, we consider ourselves very forward thinking, but we also are very quick to troll back. How could you feel this way? How could you think this way? You are wrong. And we also have to accept that there are a lot of people that actually have a particular point of view, may come from their religious sentiments, may come from their cultural sentiments, and we have another point of view. But what's happened with all the trolling is there's no dialogue. Everybody's just trolling the other party, saying you're wrong. And when I see that this is happening in my first degree, how do I troll them?
So I was going to respond to Surabhi differently, Sukirti, from what you said. Look, there is a legitimacy now to the bigotry and the hatred, which wasn't there 10 years ago, or maybe 15 or 20 years ago. And I have been part of the social cultural milieu for that long, consciously as an adult. So I can say that with great conviction that the legitimacy that we have given to hatred and bigotry today did not exist pehle. And what we see on social media is a reflection of our drawing rooms. I am so in agreement with what Sukirti has said. These are conversations I've had in the inbox with people I have grown up with, in school groups, in college groups. And there are times when I have actually taken, it's been a shocker for me. And I have been silenced, not because I was scared, but because I was just so amazed that these are people who I have known for the last 30, 35 years, and they think like they do. So you'll be surprised at how many of us actually subscribe to what is called the trolling thought process. Uh, they are loud and vociferous on social media. They are quieter and more polite in our drawing rooms. But this is what we carry in our heart today, I think. A very vast majority of us. And that cannot be discredited. And Sukirti is right. A dialogue is so important. So you hear their version of the story and put forth yours. I mean, it's like we've been, shutting down the other by trying to shout louder when we really can't. And so I
So
think
what is it? Don't you think it's much more about maybe the fact that social media has become more accessible to everybody? Is it 10, 15 years of that? Or do you think, I can't remember in my growing up years, whether it was in Delhi or my years of stay in Bombay, where I had neighbors who were Muslim, and whether, every Eid and Diwali was always about sharing things, the gifts with each other. I cannot remember these kind of things ever happening earlier. I think it's more because of the social media becoming like this.
you liberal secular.
Social media is something I feel when you don't know when there is a cue, that the conversation keeps on continuing. Don't know where it started in the very beginning. You just know that everybody is responding to the messages forward, but nobody actually, as Sukirti said, nobody actually goes deep into it. That what is the reason behind it? Why are we so against? Is there any statistic supporting it? Is there any real story behind it? Is there any threat behind it? But we are just trolling and trolling and trolling.
People, at least that I talked to, did feel that it hurt. It did not hurt their sentiments, so called, but they felt it was glamorization. And what they found a little bit more disturbing was that you're glamorizing where they feel that Hindus are Hindus and they're very religious, and that you're glamorizing something, and maybe that glamorization should not happen.
But
So
Sukirti,
does that
to
mean,
add to your
Mind
point, I feel like it's something like, oh, I of course believe it. As long as it's not
what
happening to
will
me,
they
it's happening to the rest of
do?
the world, it's okay. Don't
Yeah,
don't you think it's more like
true?
that?
So then
it
is
is.
media, Bollywood, and maybe the brands, should they take a stand on such things at all? Or is it that from now onwards, even if Tanishq is now going to enter this, that means nobody else is going to ever talk of this? And then is there any other better way in which we are going to promote this kind of harmony?
No,
So look, uh,
a great conversation. They should not then have backed down. See, if you're going to
Yeah.
start this conversation, then be prepared to take the conversation and bring both sides. Yeah. I think by saying, okay, I started the conversation, I got trolled, and I've heard some sentiments, let me say sorry and let me move on.
no, Sukirti, so look, the Tanishq ad was tugging at your heartstrings so that you loosen your purse strings, right? Very commercial. Their motive is not social engineering. So it's not like the Nike ad where Colin Kaepernick comes and takes a knee and Nike backs it up big time and says, this is a political statement, just do it. This is more like a soft focus, hoping you'll go buy some jewelry. Sukirti and I were talking of, oh my God, we just are going to Tanishq now. So
I just went to Tanishq.
so I am going to come back
No,
to
I
my
am a
theory.
customer for quite a while.
No, I am coming back to my theory that we as a country are menopausal. We are 70 years old. We just lost the plot. We are celebrating everything irrational, illogical, sometimes stupid. There are times when we just erupt for no reason because we are having hot flashes. I'm like just so convinced that there's something inherently wrong with the way we're looking at our nation. And we've just lost the plot, I think. We are outraging about stuff that is not requiring. I mean, if it is glamorizing that, what about, all of these Maza ads where they have women's waists with, pani dripping down? Come on. I mean, isn't that something that you're sexualizing a Coca-Cola bottle, for crying out loud? So what happens then? Why do we not outrage then? Why are we selectively outraged? Why is our outrage so selective when it comes to tolerance? Why is multicultural pluralism offensive to today's India? Why? It isn't something new. It is something we've known forever. I don't know how many of you can say that all of your ancestors did not marry into anybody else. I mean, caste is such a big issue, let alone faith. And we're all products of what are called muggle bloods and mixed breeds and Harry Potteries, right? It's such a I just don't understand where we are coming from anymore. And we were not like this. And I think it's part of growing up. And once the hot flashes are over, I think we'll become better people and we'll start
I think
stopping
also
this.
the timing with this COVID, with this lockdown, with our obsession with social media and no other outlet. I think we're just looking for some relief. Anything that happens, I think we're in that hyper mode as it is. In this time, I do agree with you. And this COVID and Corona period has just made us more hyper.
So
And
Sukirti, why not this hyper thing going about what is happening in the economy and why we are losing jobs? Why why are we only fretting over?
because this every common person can have an opinion on I am not an economist to understand why we are losing jobs. How do I talk about that? Here is something that everybody can say, okay, I can have an opinion on it. And we are stuck to our computers, we're stuck on our phones 10 to 12 hours a day, and maybe we are also consuming too much more social media these days.
That definitely is a factor. But I'm sure that even the main media could have been for some time taken something more important into consideration than what they're doing at the moment.
Surabhi, the other reason is that, civil society and people like you and I, and we have just ceded so much space to the loud and the vociferous from all over. We've just ceded that space where we are not talking anymore, where our voices are not voices that are amplified, because we are talking rational, sensible, hello, what is wrong with this? Can we just let it go kind of language?
So
And it doesn't just get the kind of eyeballs something
think both
rapid and
sides
offensive.
are talking like this. Both sides are vociferous, both sides are on social media, but
So,
they're talking.
Katie, I didn't see us talk at all on social media
There are a lot
about
of
this.
people, there are a lot of
I
actors and
think
stuff that did come out. A lot of people did come out. But the question is, we're not talking with each other, we're talking at each other.
I think there's a
another
machinery.
trend that, sorry.
Yes, Sneha, go on.
I'm saying I also noticed this other trend that suddenly everybody wants to conform to what's the loudest voice out there. And people don't go back and check facts. And that is why, when you're even sitting in your living room, you hear people just throwing out facts and it shocks you because you think that, okay, have you not read enough? Have you not really researched enough? And that's what I feel, that now it's the easiest to say, yes, this is right and this is wrong. But if you start having conversations with people about facts, I think people don't want to engage into that conversation anymore. It is just, okay, this way or that way.
Because you have to read up a lot, no? And there's no censorship, that there's no approval process that, okay, you are writing anything and this has to be validated. Anybody can write anything, anybody can say anything. That is what the social media has become.
It would be hilarious if it was not so sad and scary. It would be hilarious. We are giving in to the kind of stories that no rational person, given half a thought, would believe otherwise. Seriously.
So we want some opinion from the audience. What do they feel about it? Their responses on this advertisement. Do they feel that the brand is responsible, and what kind of emotions it evoked on them? So, yeah. So Damini, will you help reading out the comments what we received from people?
Yes. So these are some of the comments that were left on our Facebook page. When we spoke about this topic. So we have some very interesting comments coming in over there. And also on our chat box, also we can see that, a lot of people are saying that, we need these kind of ads. Maybe the people are just losing it because they're not understanding what the ad is talking about. Or maybe there's an outrage just for the sake of it, something that we have discussed about. So one of the comment was, recent boycott of ad from a jewelry brand reminded me that there is so many ads spread sexism but never talked about, which is again something that we spoke about. You promote interfaith marriages, you will be abused. If you promote interreligious hatred, you will be praised. And unfortunately, I'm sad that this latest trend, and even Tanishq accepted this harsh reality by pulling this ad down. Coming to that, I would like to ask all of you panelists, what is your view on, did Tanishq anticipate all of this? And would they have known about the backlash? What is the brand sensibility over here, if I can put this question to our panel?
So I think I would like to here say that when an ad is made, it's so much money that goes behind it that it is not possible for an organization as big as Tanishq to have just put out the ad. They would have done their focused group. They would have done all that was required in the steps of actually bringing out the ad so openly into the media. They must have had a plan A, plan B, plan C. All organizations do it. I'm not sure if they didn't anticipate this kind of a thing. I think they would have, an organization as something like Tanishq as a brand would have had, and that is where I felt that yes, they should take a stand. They should have stood by what they wanted to. They wanted to portray it. They made such a beautiful ad, and then why did they just back off with just a bit of trolling?
So
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because a brand, I mean, even small brands, especially when you're creating an ad, there's so much research that's done. And especially they also know that this is a very sensitive topic. They would have been doubly sure. You can't put something through a big organization like this with multiple PR agencies, multiple advertising agencies, multiple levels, without somebody saying, hey, what if A happens? What if B happens? What if C happens?
So, yeah, Shibal, what's your opinion? Sneha, what's your opinion? Anybody?
Look, advertising is fame. It's not persuasion. It's got us talking. They've got so much airtime in spite of having withdrawn the ad. I know if I'm buying jewelry, I'm buying Tanishq when I am not a Tanishq loyalist otherwise. I don't know whether the space that they wanted to capture was the one that they have captured, because, I have no idea whether they anticipated it or not. And I do not think we expect any brand, to stick to what are called their cultural values or what is called virtue signaling. just because we think it is in the right space for us. There are lots of people who would think it's a moral victory for them that the brand has actually withdrawn its advertisement. I don't know. There is no right, there is no wrong. You're damned if you will, and you're damned if you don't. I do agree that they would have obviously anticipated that there would be some kind of backlash. The times we live in, we're also cautious. I mean, in fact, before I was going on, I sent my mom a link to this saying, will you join in? And she said, do you have to? And I was like, what? No, can you just not be very political on this forum, at least on this topic? Can you please talk about the eye more than anything else, or your book more than anything else? But that's the general way of looking at it. There is an element of fear that all of us are pandering to today, whether we are organizations or individuals. We all have something to lose. And social media gives you anonymity, so people can say all kinds of nasty things and get away with it. When you type out a nasty comment saying you're ugly or you're fat, but you don't know what it's doing to the other person because it's not a visual impression that you will get. So social media trolling can be very, very debilitating. It can be very disconcerting. And it can be as disconcerting for an organization as it is for an individual. So I don't know the motivation behind it. But I mean, to expect a jewelry brand at the time when the economy is at a slump to show the sensitivity to air a new ad about diamonds. We aren't talking about how bourgeois that is. I mean, as socialists, we should all be up in arms saying there is something inherently wrong about advertising for jewelry at a time when migrants have walked home and there's so many who are without jobs. We are outraging about other stuff. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on whether they anticipated the backlash or not. But I would have loved it if the backlash was, why talk diamonds at a time when you should talk social responsibility?
Yeah, I also have the similar opinion. I am no one to judge, but yeah, the coincidence of the ad around Diwali time, and you know that any publicity is a good publicity. So it's just like, okay, backlash hua to hua, but I am supporting it just to show that I support the message behind it. So yeah, that's in short, I can say that this is what my feeling is. Sneha, what
So
about?
there is one question that is coming up, and something that I would like to add, regarding this only. Sonakshi has put up on chat, and she's saying that now can we say that advertisements or brands should focus only on products and services and not on social or political issues in their campaign? Do you think was this what they were focusing on in the first place? Were they even trying to be social or political about it? Were they?
I personally think that, no ad is really trying to change the structure or change any, social structure in a country. I think what they're trying to always do is, tug at someone's heart. So you feel attached to it. But at the end of the day, for a brand, I think it is still an economic decision. So I think at the end of the day, whatever works, whether it is making a political statement or making a cultural statement, they will continue to do that. And I think it's okay. It's difficult to just say, okay, this is product A and do XYZ. So
look, it's asking for too much if you expect a profit-making unit to do your social engineering for you and be the reason for social change. They might do their CSR and teach a few children in a couple of schools, but to expect them to work on your mindset and mine is asking for too much. They are positioning their brand. Look, I mean, if you were to look at Tanishq, they have entered a space where traditionally all of us have our family jewelers. All of us who do buy jewelry have been going to the same jeweler because our mom was going there, and before that somebody else was going there from within the family. So what they have tried to cut into is focus on the younger youth who are now buying their wedding jewelry, showing them that they have the fiduciary duty of making a responsible choice. You might be buying non-ethically sourced diamonds, but you're buying from a company that's socially more conscious than your Gendaram Tribhuvandas company, which only shows your diamonds. So that's the way the brand is positioning itself. And it is more to do with commerce than any kind of social engineering that you and I might want to attribute to the brand.
And the dad never took the credit for it, Shibal.
Yes, they never did. I don't think they also tried
Oh,
to
I
do
am
that.
going to reform or change this.
Yeah. And, I mean, to have your jeweler do that for you is asking for too much. You can ask your teachers to do it for you, but
That the idea behind the campaign was a social motivation in terms of bringing people together from different walks of life, local communities and families during these challenging times and celebrate the beauty of oneness. So there was a messaging, there was something, they were trying to build their social capital. And as we said, that Tanishq has a lot of times used the emotionality to kind of create their brand. And that emotionality at this point in time, they thought would be that can we bring the community together?
right. I don't know how Sneha and Zainab feel about this, but it's like, all our marriages have been rejected en masse by the country, as in there's no legitimacy to your marriage if it's an interfaith marriage, and that people will question your choice. The National Commission for Women head talks about love jihad. And I was like, seriously, as if we don't have the agency to choose who we will marry. And
I want to add something to this,
Yes.
actually. Yeah, so I want to add, so I also think that a lot of this outrage has I have noticed this since a couple of years, that there is a bit of an Islamophobia that is there undercurrent. So maybe if this ad was about something else, or maybe if it was talking about women empowerment and somebody said that this is, it's a good thing, it's not, there would be two sides, there would be healthy debates, some unhealthy debates, everything. But I think that this, the interfaith thing, especially showing that a Hindu girl is marrying into a Muslim household, that I think was one of the major reasons that triggered way too many emotions. And that is one of the reasons that, they could not go too much beyond a point, because we have all seen it in various different forms, how that ends up. So, to avoid a very dirty and a very ugly and, more spiteful kind of a outcome, I mean, that's something that I feel.
Zainab, you've hit it on the head. So
Absolutely.
Zainab marrying
Hang
a
on.
Hindu is fine, but Sneha marrying a Muslim is not. So that's patriarchy raising its ugly head all over again.
Yeah.
Beti denge nahi, beti le aayenge.
So it is, I get,
I don't belong to this anymore.
I have a question here, which after watching the ad, I felt, why do we feel that a woman has no brain of her own? If beti le aayenge or beti de aayenge could control the society, as if everything is she a bat? Is she a kind of?
It sounds so transactional in my opinion. I mean, just that's a different topic, but I feel just marriage in itself, when sometimes I would hear people talk about it, I'm just like, it sounds like a damn transaction. What are you gaining out of it? What are you putting into it? What is the profit in it? And it's ridiculous to a whole different level.
Amit has just asked what would the reaction be if the girl was a Muslim in a Hindu household. So can you imagine what it would be like if the Hindu family of the Hindu in-laws of the Muslim daughter-in-law were chanting the Quran? You would have shot down Tanishq brand manager,
Yeah.
not just trolled him. Don't even go there, Amit. Don't even go there. For a Hindu family to be changing their way of living for a Muslim daughter-in-law would have been like, oh my God, no, so
I think
unacceptable.
looking at it, I think the other side would have also reacted. I think this is the question about the interface.
So then,
Javed Akhtar said it beautifully. Whether it's in a film, an advertisement, or a real life marriage, everywhere in interreligious, doesn't matter whether it's the girl or the boy, both sides always disturb some people, in which the girl side is always agitated or related to it. This outrage is based on the belief that women are like property. Angry people see the bride and her family as cattle thieves of a village.
absolutely, absolutely, it's patriarchy all
Why
over.
we're talking about whether it's a Hindu girl marrying a Muslim boy or a Muslim girl marrying a Hindu boy.
So
The idea is that the girl is like this cattle, this property, and we need to control her.
So the same, no, transactional and commodity and object, and like, okay, she's to be protected. That is how the girls are being positioned in the society,
They're
whatever
the ones
post
to
they
be
are in.
exchanged. You
So
know,
I
have
think I would still want to add one more thing here, that when we are talking of brands and we said that the brand doesn't have any responsibility. They're only talking about commerce and economics. I don't think that's the case. Had it been, then the backlash towards Fair and Lovely and HUL changing its entire ad to make it Glow and Lovely, all of those things are also happening. So somewhere I think brands, and they do play a little role in bringing about that change
But Surabhi,
for
when
the.
they're pushed against the wall, then they changed it. Till the time it was not, they had to change, they didn't change. It had been going on for a very, very long time. So finally, yeah.
Are we forcing the brand like Tanishq, which is happily doing it for us and showing the inter-religion marriages in a good light that they wanted to? Are we pushing them against the wall and saying, don't do this anymore?
So finally, they had to withdraw the ad.
Yes.
They had to
As
apologize.
a
They
country, we are
didn't
doing
have
that.
to, they chose to.
They
No,
chose.
they did
They
have to.
chose.
As a country, we are giving legitimacy to the hatred that is around, and it's the social milieu around that pervades all of our lives. And you will have to talk to people who have been at the receiving end of the nonsense to understand how disconcerting it can be. And
Agree.
it's just being amplified on social media, but it exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, like, if somebody is presenting their idea and there's a message with it, rather than bringing it into controversy, because whatever may be the message, whether it is fair and lovely or whatever, so the message that the person who is creating something that he's trying to portray is his idea. What I feel. So we should see the beauty of the message rather than just taking it into controversy and pushing somebody to just stop that ad or stop that creative side of the person or the company, whatever we may say. I take it like this.
Right. I think I absolutely agree with what you're saying. It's just so important that what the ad is saying, what the organization is standing for, where the trolls have come in, where we take a stand. I think that there are all these things which are related, and things should fall into place. I don't know why I have this very idealistic thing that after some time, maybe all of us will fall into line and say that, okay, yes, this is okay, diversity, let's accept it. Why are we getting into so much controversy for nothing?
Yeah, that's called idealism. That's called utopia.
I was going to say, Surabhi, I think the fact is that advertising, we've seen that Fair and Lovely, body shaming, all of this do have a deep impact on psyche. So we can't just say that, look, advertising is just about creativity. It's also about psychology. And when big brands, movies, we saw this in Kabir Singh, all of these, they do impact the way society does think and the way that society does perceive. So it is beyond creativity.
So we have now
Vicious circle.
audiences here.
How do we break it?
Yeah. Arunima, Damini, can you take it over from here?
Yes, so Arunima wanted to share something, and she has a very interesting view that she shared on the chat. Arunima, please tell us about it. What do you think?
Sure. So I've always felt I got to know about this ad a few days back on Twitter when I saw the trending ban Tanishq, and I was wondering what's about it. Why would you want to ban a jewelry ad? Then I went to YouTube, and fortunately, the ad had not been removed till then, and I saw the ad. And throughout, when you're watching something, you want to see what's in it that's making people so angry. So I was sitting with the anticipation, okay, something big is going to happen. Why have they even reached the ban level? It was just such a beautiful ad, and it's been a beautiful ad, and it did not take me by surprise, because Tanishq has always been a brand which has brought forth progressive ads, always. Be it about showing women as strong characters in their ads, be it about an ad, I still remember vividly, where there's a woman who is marrying for the second time, or showing that people from any social class can buy jewelry. So they have made their brand in such a way that, one, of course, it's a glamorous jewelry brand, but at the same time, they don't want you to be intimidated by it. So I didn't understand what was the big deal about getting so angry about this ad, because it just shows something which is very beautiful. Why would you want to make, why would you want to read so much between the lines? And I completely agree. I mean, why would you expect why would you expect a jewelry brand to be doing so much of social networking? It is just about bringing forth a message in the same way that they have done till date in life. So there was the ad didn't come as a surprise to me, honestly. And I was sad to know that the ad's been taken off, because for me, I somehow felt it could be taken as a victory, as I've written in the chat, uh, for such people to be doing such things again in future, for people who might, for brands who might want to think a little differently in life and then not are not able to, because as someone rightly said, that at this point in time today, everybody, be it an organization or an individual, you have something to lose if you are saying something. So and if you're saying something that does not meet the so-called norms of a lot of people out there, the norms that they have created themselves and are happily living by it, and are endorsed by so many other people as a chain reaction, and it gets stronger and stronger and scarier for that matter, because of which I feel a lot of such beautiful thoughts and thought processes might just get suppressed going forward. So yeah, that's what I thought. Plain, I seriously didn't understand what was so bad about that. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful
So
one.
people like you,
Yes, Shibal, please.
people like you didn't say this on social media enough. People like me did not say this on social media enough. This is what I mean when I say that our national narrative has been hijacked by the loony fringe on both sides. Whether it's the liberal scape where everything is wonderful, or whether it's the other space where everything is rotten. Uh, the moderates, the people like you and I, we just don't have the emotional bandwidth to go to Twitter and post like 20 times about this. And we are hopefully the silent majority that doesn't talk, and which is why brands like Tanishq need to withdraw. We just need to find our space, and we just need to jostle and say, we are also here. It's like in a DTC bus, when you'd go to uni, you would try and become smaller because there were people all over. Now is the time when you spread your elbows and say, hello, we also have a space and a voice, and this country is as much ours, and our way of thinking is as acceptable as yours, even though we are not going to be nasty about it. So don't go to either loony fringe and say you guys are creeps because you are, bucks and bigots and you're perpetuating hatred. And don't go to the other limit and say that you are, favoring love jihad. There is the great middle path that you and I have to be vocal about, because I do believe that the loony fringe is just that. They're the fringe elements. Their voices are amplified, but we are silent. And I didn't go on Twitter and post anything in support of the ad. I should have, and I feel guilty for not doing it. In that much, I am complicit in the ad being withdrawn. So I don't know if you did, Ananta, but I think it's time that people who are sensible also invested some time and energy in making our voices heard.
No, but I would precisely, also say that as much as you're holding that we people should be there, I think the brand also intended targeting people like us who are in the middle and not those loony fringes. So maybe the brands must also stand and say, okay, this is it. This is the people I'm targeting, and I'm going to be here. Come what may. Let those loony fringes be where they are and leave them aside.
I also thought that Tanishq was not really being bought by the loony fringe anyway. They were still going to the neighborhood then, Mala Jewala. So Tanishq really didn't have anything to lose.
I was also thinking about that. I said, I love how you're boycotting it. Are you even buying Tanishq to, boycott it in the first place?
No, I wore earrings. I wasn't wearing them, but I wore them specifically today. So yeah, it's
Shibal, to add to your point, I get that, and but sometimes I find it extremely exhausting being on social media and doing that. However, on the other hand, I feel like it's very important when you are sitting face to face with someone, or you are in a living room and people are extremely comfortable making statements. I feel very comfortable making them uncomfortable, because I feel, you should stand up for it, have facts, and we can have a very healthy argument, but it should not be that this is my point and that's it. It's not open for an argument.
That in social
so my son says, Amma, that's me in the tummy.
There's no dialogue happening on social media. Nobody is talking to each other. And that's because the moderates, like what I think Shibal said, sit out. They just let both the fringe elements fight it out. But probably the rest of us are just saying, okay, do I even want to get involved? Do I just want to say, you know what, it was okay. I actually liked the ad. Something also very, very simple, which is not a controversial statement. I think Twitter, all the social media has also made it that you need to put some kind of I don't know, a statement piece out there rather than, something very simple out there.
Who has the energy to kind of get into Twitter and trolling and answering to every, once you comment, then you have to be ready to have a dialogue there. Sadly, not a dialogue, but have a conversation there.
Meeta dono taraf wale marenge.
The moderates don't have we just say, acha, we are not able to fight for our opinion.
कहते हैं ना, पढ़े लिखे लोग घर में बैठते हैं, ज़्यादा पढ़े लिखे लोग ट्विटर पे होते हैं. So it's something like that the society is moving to. But I'm sorry. So we have here Mr. Ananta Datta. Damini, can we get him?
And Amit has also been asking quite a bit of questions.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, Ananta, you're unmuted. Please go ahead.
I want to say where the meeting is discussion about.
Hello.
Hello.
Damini, you can.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead. I think there is some issue with the audio there.
Yeah, let's mute the men anyway. It's like,
why is it wrong to?
Amit is also here, so we can't.
Oh, we can't? Not all of them. Okay.
We are the two wheel of the society. We need both going
so while you're waiting, so while you're trying to unmute Amit, okay, yeah, Amit, you are unmuted. Please share your views.
Namaskar and good evening to all. And it's interesting to be part of the whole discussion which is happening. So I would like to congratulate and give my compliments and kudos to Team Sipping Thoughts as well as the other panelists here. Although I might have certain reservations and reaction to what Dr. Shibal. Yeah. Let me just see the
Bhartiya. Dr. Bhartiya is easier to say.
No, Shibal also, but only thing is there was it was not clear. So Dr. Bhartiya got it's interesting, I would say. Yeah, you all should continue doing this. Only thing is, it has to turn up into. It should not get restricted only to just few panelists who could be counted on fingertips. Let the number increase, and yes, you all should voice. It's a healthy discussion to have. Yeah, this is what I would like to say. Yeah.
Thank you for your point of view. So we have a very interesting comment from Shilpi. She left on chat, and by Tanishq taking the ad off air, it has given more power to trollers and the people who had problem with this issue. So I would like to ask your opinion is how much importance are we giving to the trollers right now? Has this really given them too much power now?
I want to say something that, some of these days I actually feel that on Twitter, we should now be able to have an account only with your Aadhaar card. So at least these trollers finally have an identification. And so without the Aadhaar card, you should not be able to make a Twitter account. But I also want to say that, as you say, the moderates, like, for example, I had a lot of things to say about the Tanishq Ad, which I might not be able to vocally say, but I put it on Facebook. But again, if you're a moderate, you put something out on Facebook, you have so many people commenting that not all of us have the troller energy or that kind of, mindset to go on and on. So there comes to a point where I think I defend myself and then I get exhausted explaining the same thing again and again. And I feel like, okay, why did I put that up in the first place? So, so that is the kind of thought process I am left with. And then sometimes I have a lot of things in these kind of topics to say, but I feel, should I say, because I know when I start, it's going to go on and on. And do I have it in me to go, to counter those kind of accusations, thoughts, spiteful comments? Yeah.
I agree. Not so many of us have the emotional bandwidth to deal with the nonsense that comes along. But, it is part of, if we expect Tanishq to have that kind of social responsibility as to not withdraw an ad, you and I, Zainab, it is incumbent upon us as instruments of social change, because we've taken a decision to marry outside of our communities. We've, Sneha as well, we've done the seemingly impossible. We've married people who we wanted to for reasons none other than love, right? And
Yes.
I think our decision is to be celebrated and not to be marginalized. My son, Aradhya, 14-year-old, he said, I'm the bacha in the tummy who is causing all the controversy. My son should not be made to feel in any way different from any other child. Is as much a part of this country and as much a part of the national narrative as can be. And when you are taking away the legitimacy from Sneha, from Zainab, from Shibal, and questioning our agency to make this decision for ourselves, not only are we looking at patriarchy, we are looking at a clear infringement of our very constitutionally given fundamental right to choose who we want to marry, to choose who we want to live with, to choose who we love. And there is no questioning that. There was a time when we looked at the Constitution as the beacon of where we wanted to go as a nation. Surprisingly, it no longer remains that holy textbook. That is fine. But as we reinvent ourselves as a country, it's important that our voices be heard. And I am as guilty as any of you. I haven't spoken of the ad either. And like I said before I came on to this webinar, my mum actually had a word of caution saying, will you please tone it down? This isn't when you go to your, you're carrying your flag bearing rampage on what it is to be a secular Indian today. But we just need to introspect as to whether what we believe in and the way you and I have lived requires enough from us to also be socially representative of what we believe. And I'm going to be introspecting tremendously and see if I can find the time and the emotional bandwidth to take it to social media tomorrow. I'm not an influencer, so not too many people are going to read it. But if like 500 of us do put in a word, maybe there will be change. Maybe there will not be, but we would have done our bit, just as we expect Tanishq to do its bit by not withdrawing the ad. We are as guilty, as complicit as the trolls are, because we didn't support it. And I am holding myself responsible today.
No, you've purchased the Tanishq jewelry. You've done your bit. Don't worry.
I can't afford to buy
Sorry
anymore.
to interrupt here, but I have to drop off, and just want to thank everybody for such an engaging conversation. It's something I also a lot of times don't feel comfortable talking about, because I feel, I mean, it's not that relevant, or it's not the first thing I think of myself when I say, hey, I'm Sneha and I had an interfaith marriage. That's not the first thing, but I feel like platforms like this, it's good to really talk about it a little bit, and just have some common people or people who share your thoughts to talk about it. So thank you, and enjoy the session, guys.
But I think this dialogue is so important, that both sides coming and talking like we are talking, actually discussing with each other rather than at each other.
So what's your takeaway, Surabhi? What's your takeaway, Zainab?
No, totally. I'm going to Tanishq showroom today. Don't worry.
Buy me something. I love you so much.
I've already been.
But the conversation must go on. Yes, we are not leaving that aside, right? So we do our bit. Let the organizations, the big brands do their bit, but we are not leaving it.
Zainab, what do you say?
Well, I think I've said what I've thought, but yeah, I think I'm going to make my trip to Tanishq next. I think I'm the only one left out who's not purchased something with Diwali coming up, with my envelopes that I'm going to get for Diwali. That's going to be where my next trip is for sure. But yeah, it's great to have this. I mean, I'm so glad, because these things, we don't really talk about it too sometimes. And like, in the very beginning, somebody had mentioned, some of your closest friends, some of your closest confidants, deep down, they hold these feelings, they all do. And even though everyone's very soft and polite in person, but they have that thing, when it comes to different cultures and all. And I think it's people like us who've been quiet, we need to be more vocal. We need to, and in a positive way, not again, you don't have to be another troll, in a nicer way, and with nicer words, with nicer mediums, come out and help bring about a different thought process, because too much of this negativity is happening off late. It's in various forms that I'm seeing, and I think in a small way we should do something. I mean, I'm going to think about what way can I do, but yeah, that's some food for thought.
So yeah, thank you for all the feedbacks, takeaway, and contribution to the conversation. I think this is the platform where we are trying to bring some changes. We are trying to do some introspection. And yes, as Shibal said, that we try to, even if we reach to 500 people, we are bringing some kind of, at least we are ready to speak out. We take out time to, because we know that it is not a backlash, it is a conversation. And my takeaway is like after this ad, why I feel why our egos are so fragile, why our faith is so fragile that a simple ad shakes it up. It's why are we so fragile? Why not we live with our own faith, our own belief, and our own convictions? Let live, yaar. I feel you marry anybody you want to, you have a head on your shoulder, you are wise, you can think, so we can take decisions for ourselves. Let the society not be the moral responsible people to see that we are in good hands or we are in bad hands. So that is my takeaway from
Ma, baap, chacha, chachi, bua, poopa, on top of that, people on Twitter also decide who you get married to. I'm like, this is the pitch, man.
No, but I loved what Arunima said, and I just like to repeat that yes, sipping thoughts, providing a safe space for sharing our thoughts. That is what is the most important. So can we create more of these safe spaces where people can actually come out and voice their opinions?
So this platform is open to everybody. Please be a part of it. वो बोलते हैं ना हम चलते गए और karma बनता चला गया. So none of us we just started, and there are the whole bunch of women, the bunch of men supporting it, having conversation. So please come and join us. We have completed 3 years and we want to go 30 more years at least. And so we need all of you.
4 years, the hundreds.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.